Welcome, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'd like to welcome you to the Innovation Prize portion of the ISTF conference. I'm Brad Gentry. I'm the Associate Dean for Professional Practice here at the school, and I also run the Center for Business and Environment, where we're excited to have just launched a new website on conservation finance, which is sort of underlying many of the issues we're talking about today. But if you come at the questions that we're addressing from a business perspective, lots of businesses would say, you can't protect the environment while having development. It's going to require destroying the planet in order to have the development that we need. Obviously, I love the fact that this conference is built around a different worldview, that we have to have both. And that's how that's expressed in the Sustainable Development Goals, the Pope's encyclical, a lot of the results from COP20, from the recent COP in Paris, and lots of other activities there. Because, as you all appreciate, tropical forests are a critical part of the planetary infrastructure, but also under ever-increasing threat. And so what this conference, as I understand it, is set out to do, thinking about and gathering up the examples that are being experimented with at the local level and connecting those to the financial resources and policymaking power at the national and international level is one of the ways that we have to move forward. And the school has a long tradition of working on those topics, whether it be through the field research done by students through the Tropical Resources Initiative, whether it be through the online and field education around community reforestation works being done through the Environmental Leadership and Training Initiative, whether it be through the dialogues across fracture line issues or conflicts that the Forest Dialogue leads. And this conference, this annual conference with its wonderful track record of bringing really interesting people together and catalyzing really important and valuable conversations. And on that note, let me just pause for a second and thank the organizers of this event, which is entirely student-run. I'm always amazed at what a wonderful program they put together and still get to their classes. It's kind of incredible. So let me turn to the focus of this session on the annual ISTF Innovation Prize, which is designed to honor outstanding initiatives to promote sustainable management of tropical forests. And as one of the judges, it's been a real delight to read through the applications this year. Truly remarkable work being done in communities around the world, and I think offering really, really valuable lessons for us all. So let me just quickly thank my fellow judges for their efforts to evaluate the projects, which included Heather Wright from the Moore Foundation and Mark Ashton and Amity Doolittle from the faculty here. I'm really looking forward to hearing the presentations from our two finalists, because while they clearly are looking to bring environment and development together, I think it's sort of interesting that they seem to me, from what I saw, to start from different perspectives and get to the same place. One seems to have started around water conflicts within the watershed and bringing that to more shared forest management of various sorts. The other one started with the benefits of reforestation and brought then in how do you build the social structures to support that over time. So very exciting. I'll now turn it over to Mariana to introduce our first finalists. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And Brad, many thanks for opening our session. And thank you so much for being here and for your interest in hearing our prize finalists today. They will be talking more about what they are doing on the ground in their countries. And as Brad mentioned, our prize aims to honor outstanding initiatives related to tropical forest use and conservation. And in this year's edition, we will award a particularly innovative, creative, and impactful project that met one or more of the SDGs in a tropical forest ecosystem. So, and these successful examples, they are a guiding light when we are envision our future path to a sustainable development. So first, I want to briefly explain how the Innovation Prize selection process works and how we selected the 2 finalists that are here today. This year, we received 40 applications from projects led by local organizations in 24 different countries, such as Indonesia, Cameroon, Brazil, India, Panama, Peru, among others. And all these 40 applications were carefully reviewed by a group of volunteers that I would like to thank now. And here they are: Catherine Young, Erica, Jacob, David, Irene Montes, Eugene, Connor, Ruth, and the co-coordinator for the prize, Chris Martin. So after this first review, 6 projects stood out. And then these 6 projects were then evaluated by the committee that Brad mentioned. So part of that was Brad, Mark Ashton, M.T. Dolittle, and also Heather Wright that unfortunately couldn't join us today from Moore Foundation. And all judges use the same criteria to select our projects, and I want to introduce you to them. The first one is demonstrated link between forest use conservation and one of the SDGs. The second is environmental impact. Third, social inclusiveness. Fourth, empowerment of communities. Fifth, originality. And sixth, replicability. So the judges selected 2 projects that have their representatives here today to present their initiatives. So now a bit of the logistics. After each presentation, we will have a 5-minute Q&A session. And after the 2 presentations, all of us will be voting for the best practice. So after our second finalist, Chris will be giving you some criteria to guide your choice. So yes, let's start. So our first finalist is the project Type Eco Orchards from Cameroon. And here we have Leila, who is an economist and a program specialist on this project. So please, let's welcome Leila.
So I wanted to thank you for organizing the prize and inviting me here today. And thank you for the organizer, especially Mariana and Chris, for being very nice with us all this time. So I'm going to start right now. So my project was created by this association called Agripo, which means Professional Farmers of Cameroon. It was created in 2010, and our goal still today was to promote rural development and just in general, like try to find a sustainable way of development for rural communities in the Congo Basin Forest. So the main project that I'm going to focus on today is called Type Eco Orchards, and I'm going to quickly delve into that. So the project is located in Cameroon. I hope you can see the map right here in the central region, and Cameroon is here on the map in Africa. And the reason why this project was born is because there were a dozen of young people who were originally from the village. They came back from the city where they couldn't find jobs. They were facing high unemployment, lack of resources, and they thought that they should come back to the village and try to find a way to earn a livelihood there. And by doing so, they were also looking at how the village had changed in their lifetimes and how climate change and other practices that they had, that we've had in the village were causing the village to slowly degrade, and what we could do to restore like the land and try to valorize our environment and also improve our socioeconomic conditions. From early on, we also tried to have a focus on women farmers because they were getting the short end of the stick within the village in terms of like production and agricultural and income and everything. So the project has many objectives. Chief among these objectives, it's the third one, but it's actually, I think, the most important one, was to improve the living conditions of our community. I think what I want to stress is that the project was not born out of the blue. It was really born out of constraints. There was these people who were looking to earn a living and have a livelihood in their village. So the reason this project exists is because they wanted to find a way to live in their land and also be able to have resources, income, food, and everything else. Then two other objectives were to promote sustainable agriculture and agroforestry, because Tayap has been under pressure ever since the 90s, and we've seen like a really large-scale deforestation. So just to give you an example, between the beginning of the 2000s and 2010, we have lost about 1,500 hectares of forest due to timber exports. We've been using slash and burn agriculture, which has like made us lose even more land, and other like a number of practices that in general were just damageable to the country. And the third thing was to adapt to climate change, because slowly, like due to deforestation, but also other circumstances, we were seeing like the environment change and wildlife was slowly decreasing. So we're trying to also promote green activities and just fight in general for conservation and put an end to deforestation and all of these other practices that we had that were not good for our land. So just to have a really a quick visual. So this is before. This picture is kind of symbolic. So I don't know if you can see well, but for me it's really symbolic of how like the situation was before. So what we have is like the three main issues I've mentioned is the fact that there was huge deforestation going on. Like you can see that the trees are really sparse. There was also the use of slash and burn agriculture, where every time that we thought that the crops weren't good enough, we'll just burn another part of the forest, which would lead to even more deforestation. And another problem we had was just the use of fallow land, not the non-use of fallow land, which will also decrease the agricultural production. But really quickly, what the farmers decided to do was to try to set up a nursery. So in this nursery, they started to plant different fruit trees. They also tried to plant forest trees that were slowly disappearing from our environment. And with that, like you can see that very quickly we started to have like more and more vegetation. Like in the background of the picture, you can see some, I can't remember what this is, but like some fruit trees, maybe mango trees that are quickly growing. And there was really quickly, maybe 2 years into the project, we could really see an improve taking place. So our main activity is the development of eco orchards. So another point here is that the first issue we had was really like food security. How can we provide food for everybody in the village? How can you ensure that throughout the year we have enough food for everybody? So we wanted to create these orchards to be able to have like enough of foods that we could eat, that we could produce and be able to sell to the local markets and also earn like some income that way. So you see that on the left. And on the right side, this picture for me is representative of the will that we had, that our director had, to try and mix it up a bit. So from the perspective of the beginning, what we wanted to do is just be able to have some more resources, but quickly we saw that the environment we were producing in was also impacted by the choices we were making and by deforestation and all of these other practices. So here, what we try to do is try to give an incentive to plant more high-value forest trees. For example, fruit trees that will not produce any fruits for a high number of years, but we still wanted to plant them or not high number of years, but that had different cycles, so that all along the year and all over the years, we still have some fruits that are producing and other fruits that are not producing. So that way we didn't have to resort to fallow lands, and we could keep on using them like continuously, and thus improve food security in general. And this, the fact that we had these different cycles, it also helped with using the slash and burn agriculture, because we always had different crops that will be become mature at different times of the year. So that also helped reduce the deforestation that was going on. So here are our key activities, the eco orchards that I've described just before. But just in general, like the three main aspects are the fact that we really try to promote sustainable agriculture for eco orchards, for rural development. We've tried to have a seed farm where we grow really non-timber type of trees and like rare forest trees that were disappearing. We also had a nursery where we've tried to promote different types of trees that are more, that are better for some species. For example, one bird that was disappearing from a forest that was a rare species. And we also have all of these side activities that contribute to agroforestry and that also contribute to give the farmers like side activities like next to farming. Then the second aspect of our work is really to work towards the empowerment of women. So that's what we've done through this, the Rural Microfinance Fund that's entirely for women and managed by women so that they have a better access to resources and they can come up with solutions to next to farming so that they can ensure an income for themselves. So I have some examples after that, what they do with that money. And third aspect that's also really important for us is ecotourism, because the last two aspects are linked. Ecotourism, because we really think that the way this project is going to continue working and to develop is also by communicating about it, not only to the outer world, but also to people within the community. So the ecotourism, it's like constructing lodges so that we can host and welcome tourists, but it also means that we organize, for example, cave expeditions for the children in the community, that we try to create activities that will be interesting for everybody. And I think what ties all of this project together is really the fact that from the very beginning, the community was involved, the community was trained, is like constantly being trained, and there's constantly a discussion within the community about what the project is supposed to be about. We've had like communication tools, like for children, we have a comic book where we explain like how to fight against deforestation. We're trying to come up with a video game, like all of these different tools that make the project like more tangible for everybody. So after 5 years, what can we show for? So this first graph shows like the efforts we've tried to do in terms of reforestation. Yeah, so this was in 2012. This is in 2014. I don't know if you can see really well, but just we see an increase in the density of the vegetation. And this has been measured by a team of engineers that came to the village. And this is thanks to our nursery, thanks to sensibilization of the population against the dangers of deforestation, and the agroforestry. That's the result that we have like after 4 years. What other results do we have? Here you can see one orchard that looks really productive. Here cassava that we saw, like in general, we saw really high increase in food production. And we've been able to develop like many different orchards, and this has, like even for the women here, and this has really helped us with, like in terms of food security and also in terms of women empowerment. So the other results that we have is that we've been able to promote ecotourism at a better level. Behind that guy is an eco lodge that is entirely constructed in a sustainable way. On the right, you can see here, this is a green classes like Nature Discovery Day for the children of the village. We try to organize that 3 times a year. And more in general, like concerning ecotourism, we really try to have a proactive approach. We try to organize like different expeditions, like in terms of forest biology, for cave going, and also work towards wildlife conservation. And on the bottom, all these pictures like really show what has been happening in terms of economic diversification. So we've seen improvement in terms of farming and agricultural production, but also in terms of other side activities that are going on. So thanks to the microfinance, this woman was able to set up her own shop because she was able to buy these ingredients, and now she's able to sell them for a different price. Here, the palm tree production led to us being able to purchase this machine, I don't know, it's called to produce palm oil. And here, this woman is now able to smoke her own fish, and then she's able to sell it at a higher price for the village. So we here, what's really important is that the focus we had on the women has really been flourishing for us. We've really seen improvement in terms of economic empowerment of women. And the second thing that I think is important for me, that's why I put this first picture with the children, is that in Tayab, more than half of the population is under 16. So they're already actors of sustainability of today and of the future. So we really try to be, let them know how can the village improve, like what we can do for ourselves, but also for them, and how we can do it and how important this is. So just a few numbers to see what's been happening. One number I didn't put, but I think is really telling, is the fact that we've seen a fourfold increase in average income by 2014. So in just 4 years, the average village is available for all of the people in the village is multiplied by 4, which I think is really important. We've seen a decrease of 60% of slash-and-burn agriculture. So in general, we have really good numbers. The agricultural production has increased by 5 million francs, and we also see that our microfinance fund has reached the amount of 1 million francs. And more generally, at the scale of the village, we have total food security all over the year. So the reason why I'm here is because this project, I hope that what I said before is clear, that it's really in line with the SDGs. The goal number 2, we've really tried to promote food security and to end hunger at the scale of the village. By our agroforestry and more generally our production, we've tried to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns, and we've taken urgent action to combat climate change. And we've really tried to promote and foster inclusive growth. So this is what we see with economic empowerment of the women. Why I think that our project is innovative is the fact that we've tried to look at the 2 main aspects for us were the scientific approach, so that we were able to modelize what was happening at the scale of the village. We've had engineers come in, try to measure the outcomes. That's why I'm able to say that the income increase. We've had a cartography made of the village so that it could help us in terms of land management. We've had one of the first challenges we had from the beginning was the fact that we didn't really know what was going on. We didn't know what we were starting from. And we need that in able to say, so we've had this term of outcome in terms of carbon sequestration, in terms of reforestation. We need to have that scientific approach, and that's also what makes it able for us to replicate that and maybe try to adapt it to other villages who are facing the same challenges that we are. And the second thing that I think is really important is the community involvement. Well, involvement is not the right word. It's really community participation. This is a community project. This project does not exist if the community is not holding it in their hands, if they're not pushing, if they're not the ones who are giving us the ideas, they're not the ones telling us what they want to do. But this is not the end for us. So when I look at the result, I want to say, okay, we're done. It's perfect, everything is good, life has improved. But this is just the very, very beginning. For us, I think that the temptation to deforest is present every day, at every moment, and that it will take constant vigilance, constant work to keep taking action every day to make sure that we don't fall back in the same patterns, because it's kind of easy money. Why should I wait for this tree to grow? It takes 20 years, and then I'm not going to see the result of that. I should just deforest, cut down that tree and sell it really quickly. But I think it takes constant communication, constant work to make sure that this project will be working. So, for example, one limit is that, for example, the project is not accepted by everybody in the village. So far, there are only 40% of people in the village that are participating in this project, but we have 50% of women that are into the project. So I'm almost done. Just the take-home from this is to say that we can find a way to have a rural way of development. We can find a way to have rural sustainability, and there's almost no way to go but up. So thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you very much for your presentations. It's very nice. My question is, how is this model that you use it replicable for other areas in Cameroon?
So the way it's replicable is I think we try to be really transparent about what we're doing and how we're doing it. Like if you go on it's all in French, but if you go on our website, you'll find all of the information about the actions we've taken, the steps it takes, and we really try to come up with a method of how to develop a rural land. We try to be systematic about the ways we're doing it. For example, the nursery with the rare forestry, like the way we did it is that we had this carbon premium, so that we'll subsidize certain trees being planted at a higher price if the tree takes longer to grow and to be able to produce fruit. So, for example, that thing is really concrete. Like, of course, people don't want to plant trees that are going to produce fruits in 50 years because they're not going to see the fruits of the trees. It doesn't make any sense for them. But this way, we try to come up with a way to kind of shirk that and give incentive to people. It doesn't work perfectly, of course not, but that's the type of things we're doing. I don't know if I really answer your questions. And we try also to be systematic in like data collection and try to have the most like scientific approach possible.
Yeah, my question was how you were able to achieve that more than 500% job creation. I don't know how.
It's because we have very few jobs to begin with. So if we if we have 3 jobs and then we created 15 new jobs. So if we had 3 jobs from the beginning, that's like 15. That's 500. Yeah. Yeah, that was flashy. That's why I put it in the slides. There's one more there.
Thank you for your presentation. Apart from the support you got from microfinance, can I just know whether you get support from the local government or anybody?
Yes, we did. We got grants from. We got one grant from WWF. We got another grant from Community Small Impact. We've got grant from the French government. We've got. I don't remember the exact list, but we got grants, yeah, from external organization, yeah, of course. There's one more question. Okay.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm the other ISTF Innovation Prize Coordinator, and it's my pleasure to be here to introduce Lady Mancia. She works for the Smithsonian Tropical Resources Institute. Lady is a biologist from Panama, and she coordinates the Juntos para Proteger Nuestra Cuenca, together to coordinate our watershed project in Panama, which she's going to be talking to us about tonight. Lady has been working with indigenous peoples and campesinos, which are rural farmers in Panama since 2008. And she's going to be giving her presentation in Spanish. So we have an FES alum, Krista Solheim, who's going to be coming up with her to translate. Please join me in welcoming Lady.
Gracias, Chris, por introducirme. Gracias a los coordinadores por invitarme. Estoy muy contenta de estar aquí para presentar mi proyecto que estamos desarrollando en Panamá.
Thank you, Chris, for the introduction, and thank you for all the coordinators for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here.
Okay, where's the presentation? Okay, Juntos para Proteger Nuestra Cuenca es una iniciativa multicultural de pueblos indígenas, Cuna, Emberá, y de campesinos de la región este de Panamá.
Juntos para Proteger Nuestra Cuenca, which means Together to Protect Our Watershed, is a multicultural alliance of 2 indigenous groups, the Embera and the Cuna, and rural farmers in the east of Panama.
El proyecto cuenta con la participación de 5 organizaciones locales, indígenas y no indígenas, que son el Congreso Emberá de Alto Bayano, la Organización Cuna de Madungandí, la Asociación de Productores Agropecuarios de Platanilla, la Fundación Doboyala y la Asociación de Unión de Campesinos de la provincia de Panamá. Estas organizaciones, a su vez, cuentan con la participación, con el apoyo técnico y financiero del Instituto Smithsonian, la Universidad McGill y la Fundación Margaret Cargill.
These are our 5 local partners. They are indigenous and non-indigenous partners. And then on the bottom, these partners, the Smithsonian, McGill, and Margaret A. Cargill Philanthropies, provide technical and financial assistance.
El proyecto se ubica en la región este de la provincia de Panamá, a unos 80 kilómetros de la ciudad de Panamá. Y esto que ven aquí es la cuenca alta del Bayano. Toda esta región pertenece a la comarca Cuna de Madungandí. Aquí están las tierras colectivas del pueblo Emberá y el resto que ven en amarillo son los asentamientos campesinos que han migrado a esta región desde 1970.
So this project is located in the Upper Bayano watershed. It's about 80 kilometers east of Panama City. This upper section right here is from the Cuna. This is where the Cuna live. The lower right section is where the Embera live, and then the yellowish section is where the rural farmers live.
Esta región también cuenta con 3 grupos humanos diferentes. Aquí conviven 2 pueblos indígenas, los Cuna, representados por los Cuna y los Emberás, y por los campesinos de origen mestizo que emigraron a esta área para trabajar la tierra.
3 groups of people live in this area. 2 indigenous groups, which are the Cuna and the Embera, and then a group of rural farmers who have moved into this area.
En esta región también se ubica una hidroeléctrica muy importante para la ciudad de Panamá, la cual provee de energía eléctrica principalmente a la ciudad de Panamá y representa el 10.9% del parque energético de la ciudad.
This region also has a large hydroelectric dam, and it provides energy for the city of Panama. It's approximately 10.9% of Panama City's energy.
Tradicionalmente, los pueblos indígenas, cunas, representados en esta figura, y los emberás, poseen una visión holística del bosque.
The indigenous groups, the Cuna and the Embera, tend to traditionally have a more holistic vision of the forest.
Valorando su territorio como un elemento fundamental del cual dependen para una amplia gama de actividades de subsistencia.
And they value their land as a fundamental element on which they survive off and subsist off.
Como la construcción de sus casas, la creación de su pintura corporal y el crecimiento espiritual.
For example, to construct their houses, for their local arts and crafts, and for spiritual growth.
En contraste, nuestros compañeros campesinos ven en la deforestación un mecanismo para accesar a la tierra y mejorar sus medios de vida a través de la agricultura y la ganadería extensiva.
On the other hand, the rural farmer group sees in deforestation a mechanism to access the land and to improve their livelihoods through livestock and agriculture.
Okay. Entonces, debido a la alta migración de campesinos a esta área, durante los últimos años, en esta área ha habido una gran deforestación y lo más preocupante es que cada vez más la deforestación avanza hacia los territorios de la comarca indígena.
Because of the migration of rural farmers to the area, recently there's been a lot of deforestation, and what's especially troubling is that they're encroaching upon indigenous land.
Entonces, el proyecto Juntos para Proteger Nuestra Cuenca tiene 4 objetivos. Uno es promover la conservación y el manejo del medio ambiente a través de inventarios forestales y de una planificación sostenible del territorio.
So this project has 4 main objectives. Number 1 is to contribute to the management and conservation of forests in the Upper Bayano watershed through forest inventories and land use mapping and planning.
Promover la agricultura sostenible como una herramienta para detener la deforestación en esta área.
Promoting sustainable agriculture for the region with a series of training workshops to limit deforestation in this area.
Crear espacios interculturales donde estos 3 grupos se puedan sentar y buscar soluciones a los problemas de la devastación y la deforestación que tiene la cuenca alta del Bayano hoy día.
To really create a forum for these local farmers and indigenous people to seek a common solution to the environmental degradation problems caused by this territorial conflict.
Y a su vez promover la educación ambiental a través de nuestros talleres de cine dirigidos hacia los jóvenes como una herramienta innovadora en la región.
And to promote environmental education for the youth using documentaries as an exciting new and innovative approach.
Una de las primeras actividades que desarrollamos dentro de la región fueron los talleres de agricultura sostenible. En estos,
One of the first activities that we developed was sustainable agriculture workshops.
En estos les enseñamos a los participantes sobre cambio climático, los impactos de la deforestación que tiene la deforestación en una región. Además, les enseñamos técnicas de agricultura sostenible como sistemas silvopastoriles, creación de huertos caseros, entre otros.
The main things that we teach them, the participants during these workshops, are about climate change, tropical forests, the impacts of deforestation and forest conservation, and then we also teach them about these following topics and skills.
Lo que aprendimos en estos primeros talleres
What we learned in these first workshops
fue que hubo una plataforma de intercambio de conocimiento entre los campesinos y los indígenas.
was that this really created a forum for exchange between the rural farmers and the indigenous groups.
El conocimiento fue de indígena a indígena, de campesino a campesino y de indígena a campesino.
The exchange was between rural farmers and rural farmers, indigenous people and indigenous people, and rural farmers and indigenous people.
De esta manera ellos aprendieron los unos de los otros técnicas sobre cómo producir la tierra de manera sostenible y muchos de los participantes de estos talleres ya están implementando programas para empezar a reforestar con especies nativas y también están trabajando en huertos caseros.
So they were able to really learn from one another about how to do sustainable agriculture, and many of them are already applying these techniques that they learned locally.
Otra de las actividades que desarrollamos en el proyecto fueron inventarios forestales.
One of the other programs that we did was take inventory of forest carbon.
Estos se llevaron a cabo en 2 comunidades de la comarca Madungandí, la comunidad de Cande y de Huarcicua.
This took place in 2 communities in the region of Madugandí.
Comarca Madugandí.
Comarca Madugandí.
Y los inventarios forestales fueron realizados principalmente por técnicos indígenas, cuna en verá, que fueron capacitados previamente.
And the inventories were led by local indigenous people who had gone through a capacity building workshop previously.
Los datos preliminares de este ejercicio nos demuestran que los bosques de la comarca Madungandí son los bosques más maduros y antiguos de la región.
What preliminary results have told us is that these forests in the Madugandí region are some of the oldest forests in this area.
Y también que poseen una alta reserva de carbono.
And that they have a lot of stored carbon.
Okay. ¿Cómo nacen los talleres de cine? Ellos nacen del interés de las autoridades tradicionales y locales en integrar a los jóvenes dentro del proyecto.
So the film workshops came about from a local leader interest in having youth really participate in this initiative.
El resultado de estos talleres principalmente es que 2 de las producciones que hemos hecho con los jóvenes en los talleres, que fueron producidas, filmadas, editadas por jóvenes locales, han sido vistos alrededor del mundo en al menos 17 festivales internacionales.
One of the great results is that 2 of the main films that were filmed, edited, and produced by youth from this region have been shown in 17 festivals across the world.
Okay. Nuestros eventos interculturales nacen de nuestro tercer objetivo, el crear un espacio en el que estos 3 grupos puedan compartir sus tradiciones y culturas.
So our film festivals and intercultural exchanges comes from our desire to really have a forum for these 3 groups to really exchange their culture and their experiences.
Cada una de estas actividades ha tenido la participación no solo de hombres y mujeres, sino también de jóvenes y de niños que han estado muy interesados y muy integrados dentro del proyecto. Y la parte intercultural ha sido muy importante porque nos va a ayudar a poder cumplir con nuestro último objetivo.
So not only have these festivals been highly attended by women and men, but also by youth and children who have been very actively participating and will help us accomplish our final objective.
Okay. En la última etapa del proyecto estamos trabajando con mapeos participativos.
For our final phase, we are working on participatory mapping of land use.
Y esto con el fin de entender el uso actual y tradicional que se le está dando hoy día a la tierra, a toda la tierra y el suelo de la comarca, de la cuenca alta del Bayano.
And the goal is to really understand how the land in the Upper Bayano watershed is being used and was previously used.
Y de esta manera poder encontrar elementos comunes y proyectos e iniciativas que podamos desarrollar en un futuro más adelante con los 3 grupos.
And through this, we can find areas of interest to all 3 groups that we will eventually address and implement.
Además de crear un plan y un ordenamiento territorial de la cuenca hacia el fin de promover la conservación y el manejo sostenible de esta región.
So this will also help us create a vision for conserving the land and sustainable agriculture in the region.
Y finalmente, también para nosotros es muy importante la parte cultural, lograr cultivar la cultura y dentro de este proyecto hemos estado integrando no solo hombres, mujeres, sino que también le hemos dado el poder a la mujer para que se integre dentro de las actividades del proyecto.
And what's been really key in this initiative is that we've really empowered women to participate and really take on important roles.
Thank you very much for your attention. We are building intercultural bridges for forest conservation. Gracias.
¿Pregunto en español?
¿Sí?
Más que nada, porque lo mencionaste justico al final, ¿cuál era el componente de incluir a las mujeres dentro del proceso, dentro de los proyectos?
Así es.
So the question was, how can we, because she mentioned at the end, how did you increase the participation of women?
Así es. El proyecto Juntos para Proteger Nuestra Cuenca bien lo dice su nombre, Juntos. Entonces, al inicio del proyecto, cuando nosotros establecimos la pauta para la integración de la mujer, una de las anécdotas que yo como mujer tengo.
So in the beginning, when we made sure that we wanted to integrate women into the program,
Y esto fue que principalmente el grupo indígena de los cunas nos dijeron, las mujeres nunca van a participar de ninguna de las actividades del proyecto. Y al final,
so in the beginning, the indigenous group, the Kuna, said that women are never going to participate in the project.
Y en la mitad del proyecto, en el segundo año principalmente, se incrementó su participación casi en un 50% en todas las actividades que llegamos a desarrollar. Incluso, lo siento, pero tengo que terminar la idea, incluso los cunas como grupo desarrollaron un taller de género para dar empoderamiento a sus mujeres e integrarlas dentro de su gobierno tradicional.
So during the second year, participation almost doubled of women participating in all of the different parts of the initiative. And the Kuna made sure that they were integrating the women into the participant. I'm sorry. Right, thank you. They did a gender workshop to integrate them into their traditional political system.
Incluso esto que ven aquí es una maqueta tridimensional hecha principalmente por mujeres y jóvenes de la región.
So this that you see here is a 3D model.
Scale, 3D model scale.
3D model scale, and it was mostly created by young people and women.
Yeah.
What kind of conflicts have you had working with indigenous and rural farmers, and how have you overcome them?
¿Qué tipo de problemas han tenido trabajando con los indígenas y los otros? ¿Y cómo lo arreglaron?
Okay. Bueno, realmente este proyecto fue construido sobre las bases de los intereses de los tres grupos. Entonces, nosotros no inventamos un proyecto y se lo impusimos. Este proyecto tenía más de 2 años de trabajo conjunto con la gente antes de iniciar. Así que realmente no hemos tenido mayores dificultades porque fue ampliamente discutido en principio y queríamos entender qué querían ellos desarrollar. Por eso es que este proyecto ya nos estamos preparando para una segunda etapa de implementación.
So it was really helpful in that in this project is that they didn't push this project on the communities. The communities already had wanted this, so there weren't too many conflicts because they weren't pushing it on them. And that's why they're also moving to a second phase because it's been so successful and because there is a lot of local want for it.
One more question?
Thanks for the presentation and congratulations. It's a great project. I'm really interested in the youth filmmaking component. I think that's really unique. I'm wondering if you know if any of the youth involved are going to continue with filmmaking, if they have continued access to equipment, and if that's piqued any interest to spark new careers in filmmaking.
So, le interesa mucho lo de los jóvenes que se están ahora que se involucraron con el cine y quería saber si ahora hay más planes de seguir que ellos quieren seguir.
Sí, si realmente sí. Para nosotros fue muy interesante que los viejos, por decir así, se interesaran en incluir y rescatar a la juventud dentro del proyecto. Nosotros ya nos estamos preparando para el 5º taller. en febrero, así que saliendo de aquí me voy corriendo para preparar el taller con los jóvenes. Y nosotros hemos tenido el apoyo de diferentes organizaciones a nivel de Panamá y a nivel internacional. Los jóvenes actualmente han conformado un grupo en el cual están ellos mismos haciendo producciones, filmando. Una de las producciones de uno de nuestros jóvenes ganó un premio en Cuba. Entonces,
So what was really great was that, these are her words, the old people were very interested in really increasing the participation of youth. So she's actually off to the 5th workshop for young people when she gets back. And they've formed their own group and are continuing to produce film and do all those relevant things. And one of them has actually won a prize in Cuba.
Y nuestros donantes nos visitaron en diciembre y quedaron muy, muy contentos con el trabajo que estamos haciendo con los jóvenes. Y uno de los componentes de nuestro siguiente proceso, nuestro siguiente proyecto y financiamiento va a ser específicamente los talleres de cine.
So the funders recently came and were very pleased with what the youth had been doing and how they had been participating. So they are going to be... I'm sorry, I forgot. La segunda parte.
¿Pero cuál era?
Después de que vinieron los fundadores.
Que nos estamos preparando para la siguiente fase y que uno de los componentes van a ser los talleres de cine con los jóvenes.
So they're preparing for a second phase, and one of the main things is going to be more workshops with young people.
Bueno,
Can we see the videos?
No traje los videos, pero en esta página están todos los documentales que han hecho los jóvenes hasta ahora. Sí, no sé si se puede accesar para ver al menos un pedacito de uno. Can we have it? No? Okay.
Well, you can go to...
Los organizadores dicen que no, pero si van a www.wapiconi, es la organización es una organización canadiense que nos ayudó a capacitar a estos jóvenes. .ca, porque son de Canadá. Ellos son especiales capacitando jóvenes indígenas para que puedan producir documentales de su vida, ¿no? De su vivencia, de su cultura. Si van a esto y buscan Panamá, les va a dar todos los films. Y específicamente Nuestro Hogar y Deforestación son 2 documentales que salieron del último taller y ya han sido mostrados, o sea, el último taller fue en febrero 2015, han sido mostrados en 17 festivales a nivel internacional con una gran aceptación del público, lo siento.
So if you go to this website, you can find all of the documentaries. They're a group out of Canada that specializes in giving voices to Indigenous people. And especially if you look at Nuestro Hogar, which is our home, and Deforestación, which is deforestation, those have had exceptional success abroad.
So if anyone's interested in seeing those videos, make sure you tell us and we can make sure to get you the info. I just would like to give a big thanks to Krisha for stepping up, translating for us. And a big thanks to both of our prize finalists. Both of our prize finalists traveled a long way to be here with us, so thank you very much. And before we get into the voting criteria, one thing that we didn't mention, a pretty important piece of information, is what actually the prize is. So as we said, these are both already 2 winners out of an original group of about 40 applications. The finalists, the first place prize will be $2,500, and the runner-up will get $1,000. So it's pretty significant. So definitely think about your votes. These criteria are basically the same criteria the judges used. And Mariana talked about them, but just to reiterate, demonstrated success in linking tropical forests with the SDGs, environmental impact, social inclusiveness and community empowerment, originality, and replicability. So you should all have your little paper ballots. If you don't, let us know. We'll make sure you get one, and we have our volunteers in the back at the doors with baskets for you to turn them in. So thank you very much.